Oh my gosh. I gotta find a better spot for me to record on. Let's see. It got hot all of a sudden. It got really windy, so my hair's a little messed up. It doesn't really matter. I don't know if I picked a good spot or not. Okay, so I wanted to do a video talking about like my, I guess last or my previous engagement, you could call it. I don't know. I feel like you guys should listen to the story and tell me what you think. Do you think it was an engagement or not? Alright, so I don't know if you guys, well, you guys remember last year I was dating this guy. His name was Ryan, and everybody knows him as, oh, you were dating that white guy. And I'm like, okay, yeah, what about it? I think that it's only a big deal to people who it's not happening to, or somebody who's just never dated outside their race. But if you date like outside your race, nobody really cares at all. I'm facing this white wall, and it is so bright. It's almost blinding, like how bright this wall is. It's really bright. I wonder if I should like move myself. These people in this neighborhood are so nosy, but I can't even like see myself. Like it's that thing right there. That's what I was facing, and it's so bright that like you can't really see yourself through. Anyway, I'm only recording outside because it's really nice outside, and I don't want to be inside the house right now. Kind of want to be out, kind of want to be, you know, doing something, but there's nothing to do. And I didn't want to eat in front of you guys because I don't know, that can get kind of embarrassing. But I think I will go over there. I'm gonna head over there. I just felt like getting out the house, that's all. And it's like 70 degrees outside. Like, these girls are in their little convertible. Nobody wants to be in the house today. And I only have a little bit of time because at around 4 o'clock, 4:30, I got some things to do. So my seatbelt, of course. Oh my gosh, they are so happy. They got their little Toyota Solara convertible. It's cute. Oh, windy. Oh my goodness. All my red hair blowing. There we go. That's better. I put the back window down instead of the front one, because the front one was blowing too hard, obviously. Okay, so guys, earlier from where we left off at, went to IKEA, broke my damn nail. I was trying to close the trunk because I bought some new totes, and I put all my shoes in one tote, and whatever didn't fit had to go. Like I had like these, I guess you could call them like workout shoes, running shoes, and they were all just kind of like dusty and old looking, but I kept them because, you know, just in case. Oh, hold on, it's loud. So, but yeah, I kept some dusty, just 2 pairs. Before I kept like 5 pair of running shoes. I don't even be running like that. That is completely unnecessary. So yeah, like 2 shoes had to go for sure. Okay, this is a good spot. This is my little secret spot. You guys, I don't know if you can even see that, but that's what I'm standing in front of. Like, it's just a really chill spot. It's surrounded by marshes and water, and it's the swamps. It's Texas, so what's new? Well, South Texas. Okay, if you see me looking around, just trying to make sure there's no mosquitoes that come in here, because, but I don't know. I think I should be good. Oh man. Alright, so I don't know if you guys remember, but I used to date a guy named Ryan. Like, how can we forget? And if you don't know the backstory, I mean, I showed him my vlog channel. I talked about him a lot on my vlog channel and stuff. This isn't even like a plug, but my vlog channel is Chinyeri's Lit Life. Plug. And yeah, like, we dated and everything, and we're together. So basically, quick little backstory. And before we even like start this, just know that like with relationships, anything that happens for the most part, it's mostly what you allow. So I'm not telling you guys to do what I did in a relationship, but just understand that everything I did in my relationship, I'm sorry guys, this is gonna bother me a lot. Oh, okay, it's not that bad. Everything that happened in my relationships, it was all necessary. It was like things that I needed, things that were beneficial for both of us, and it was just like whatever. But I don't want you guys to get stagnant in your relationships. And mine's a little bit different. I don't want you guys to get stagnant in your relationships. Like, if you don't have a choice, okay. But mine was just pure laziness and just being like, whatever, I don't care. And just being okay with settling, because that's what I would have done if I would have stayed with him, was just 100% settle and things. So just understand that during the story time, like, it's not like, oh, I didn't know any better, and oh, you know, this is why you don't do this, and this is why you don't do that, and you know, you so dumb. Like, no, I don't even regret anything, because I 100% was okay with everything for the most part. Not the things that was happening, otherwise we would still be together, but I clearly was okay with how a lot of the relationship was going and how things were, because I didn't leave. Okay, last year I got a job working at Chili's. I was a waitress. Ryan was a cook. The cook actually wasn't the worst position there. It wasn't like the lowest, but the cooks made less than the servers. Not hourly, but clearly because of our tips and things. And depending on what kind of waitress you are, you know, you can actually make pretty decent money. But I did make more money at the truck stop diner that I worked at late last year. But I just know I'm going to get questions about that, because a lot of you guys follow me because of money and things. Okay, so I was a waitress there, and I met him because, you know how when you first get a job, they walk you to the back and you have to introduce yourself. You know, they'll say, hey, everybody meet Irma. This is blah, blah. So when I saw him, he was in the back. He was doing meal prepping, and, you know, my manager walked me to the back. And I was like, hey, you know, I'm whatever. And he said, hey, I'm Ryan, and we would just talk for a second. I thought he was kind of cute. But typically, on average, I'm not usually just attracted to like blonde haired guys who have like, you know, whatever. That's not usually who I'm attracted to. But usually if a white person is attracted to me, they're blonde haired people or whatever. So he was pretty typical. This guy is probably gonna stop me. Oh no. He had blonde hair, and he had like these blue, green, gray eyes. And it was long, and then he had like this beard. I mean, he looked like a Viking, like a cute Viking. And he was like 6 foot, not that tall for me, because I'm 5'8", but you know, whatever. Some other girl would be impressed. And he was just really nice. He was so nice and like gentle when I was talking to him, and I love a nice guy. I knew when I met him that something was probably gonna happen. You know how you just know? I knew. So I rarely saw him at work because I started working nights. I really needed money. There was really no money in the lunch shift. We opened at like 11. The lunch shift was like 10:30 to 4, I believe, and there just wasn't no money in there. The night shift was, I guess, like 5, because you had your closers who would just kind of close into the next shift who could stay. But yeah, I would typically get cut anyway after like 2-3 hours. So yeah, I started working nights, and I rarely saw him, but he would be working some Friday nights and Saturdays because it would be so busy there. So during the weekend, I started seeing him. Then I started working mornings, so we would talk a little bit. Like, so there's this thing, like, the cooks are here. There's a heating wall right here in the middle, and then on the other side is where you pick up your food and things. So when I was picking up the food, you know, I would see him through the like heating window, and we would talk, and you know, whatever, we would just try to get to know each other, and just not even like, we would just be like, it was small talk, it was nothing. So this particular day, I remember I had started picking up doing doubles because I really needed money. I was broke, really needed money. And once again, I saw him. He was working the morning shift, and he was just always at work. Damn, he worked a lot. And we started talking, and it just so happened to be a holiday that weekend. So we were just talking about, like, what are you doing this weekend? Everybody's doing this, everybody's doing that. And I was like, man, I was like, I don't really have any plans. I just moved here. I don't know. Like Lil Uzi Vert. I don't know nobody. I just moved here. I've been here 3 days. And he was cool. Like, he just said, oh yeah, he said, well, and so I started getting to know him, and I don't know why it just didn't bother me. He said, maybe because I wasn't looking for anything serious or anything in particular, because we were talking about our living situation. I told him I had a little, like, 2-bedroom apartment, and honestly, I was thinking about getting a roommate because I never used that other room, and I work a whole bunch of extra hours just to pay all the rent, and I could really just take off a few days and just get me a roommate to make up for that income so I'm not working so hard, or at least save up more money, whatever. We were just talking, and he said he lived with his great grandma. So I'll be honest with y'all, people that live with their parents, that doesn't really bother me, because I feel like that shouldn't just be a cultural thing. Like, okay, it's okay for you to be Indian, 40 years old, still living with your parents, because in your tradition or your culture, you guys don't move out until you're married. Like, why is that okay, but we gotta move out when we're 18, whether we're ready or not, you know? We gotta go to college, we gotta get out all these loans, we gotta make all these huge financial decisions with whatever. So with that being said, that's why I'm not that crazy about this person has to, like, not live, whatever. My whole thing is this: if you are living with your parents or your grandparents, what are you doing with your extra money? What are you doing with your extra time? Are you just working just to go home and sleep in their basement or their spare room? Are you even helping them out with bills? If you're not helping them out with bills, are you at least saving up to get a car, to move out, to start a business, to fund your education? Like, what are you doing exactly? Why? What is it that you're still living with them? Because I'm not about to live with them. You know, you can, I'm not. So that's my whole thing that I don't really get or understand. So when he told me that, I was like, oh, I said, okay. I was like, that's fine. I mean, you know, whatever. I didn't really know anything about him yet, so I wasn't going to judge him. So a couple days later, we ended up hanging out. Everybody from work was hanging out with each other. Me and him, we were just hanging out with each other. And it was cool. Like, we watched the movie. We had both just worked double shifts. I was really, 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 really tired because I was just tired. Serving is so different. Like, I mean, his is hard too because he's sitting behind that hot ass stove. Like, serving is so different. You got demands and all that. It was just so taxing every single day. So he got off and he took a shower, and by the time I got done with all my side work, everything, I went to his house. I wanted to shower and all that, but I was just like, whatever, I'll just do it when I get home. We ended up watching this movie, and I freaking fell asleep while we were watching the movie. I was so comfortable, and I was just like chilling. And I remember, I think like the movie, there was like a loud shut, and it woke me up, and I was like, oh my gosh, I fell asleep during the movie. And I said, why didn't you wake me? I wanted to watch it. He said, oh, you were just sleeping so peacefully. He's like, you look so comfortable. I didn't want to wake you. And I was like, damn. And I feel very strange whenever I sleep. Just end up falling asleep at a stranger's house, you know. But whatever, it was fine. So I remember just waking up, and I was like, yeah. I said, I better go home. I need to go shower, get some sleep. I got to be back at work tomorrow. He was like, okay, yeah, me too. You know, it was just very chill. So weeks went on, and we were kind of hanging out, and oh god, there was like this huge drama that I don't even want to talk about, but this was like one of the big, like, first like warning signs about this whole relationship. Okay, so quick story, but I'll do the full story time when I do my experience working at Chili's and why I quit. But basically, there was this guy named Kenny. He really liked me. I didn't like him. He was this tall, I kid you not. He was really, really short, and I wasn't into it. And he was just really just trashy. And but all of us, we would all kind of hang out after work. I didn't smoke, so I would typically leave after like a few minutes of hanging out with everybody. Like one day, me and him, we had hung out. I wasn't feeling him at all. I didn't like anything about him, and I just wasn't feeling him. So I didn't think anything of this. I started talking to Ryan, and he made like a really big deal out of it. A real big deal. Whew. And when he found out that me and Ryan were kind of getting more serious, he quit our job. So he ended up quitting. He was our dishwasher. They made Ryan the dishwasher. So all the cooks had to kind of take turns washing dishes. And I guess Ryan was the one who lasted the longest. What a turn of events. So he was a dishwasher and everything. I kept working, but some things, like some messed up stuff just ended up happening at work. and our management sucked so bad. And one day I just couldn't take it no more during my shift. And even though I wasn't at my goal, and it was really childish, immature, and just like dumb to do this, especially when you have like no cushion barely, I quit my job. I just walked out one day because it was just all coming to a head all in one day, and I was sick of it. Like, just so you guys know, sometimes at this restaurant we would run out of food. On a busy Friday night, we would run out of food. We would only have like chicken crisp left, maybe like some chicken tenders and like corn and mashed potatoes. Like, that's all we would have left at our entire job. We would be running out of seafood, out of steaks, out of ribs. We wouldn't have like certain beers all the time. We would be running out of food, bread, tortillas, whatever. And they thought that was okay. And it would happen on like special occasions. Like, it would be like Father's Day, Mother's Day, and it was like, okay, you guys didn't think that we really needed to stock up for our busy day. Goodness. And then we would have, what do you call that? A person that will help you not get your food taken. They would pick the most unestablished cook to do that job. So that's basically what happened on that night. People were taking, it was a busy night. They were sitting me table. People kept taking my plates. I had so many incomplete orders. The shift had just started. I would go to the back, see my food wasn't complete, right? So I would run back, get an order, go back. Somebody had took my plates. Somebody took my food. So like, I would put it in the order. I will go back, because after the person says what they want, and I'll put it in, and then I had to go back and say, hey guys, we're out of stock, constantly, all day, every day. And yeah, it was just like, and you got tired of trying to check to see what was taken, and people were stealing so much food that like a lot of people who were doing the inventory, they were stealing anyway. So we were always running out of food and all that stuff. So that was just one of the things with the job. Anyway, I ended up quitting. So I had already decided that week that I was going to get a roommate anyway. I left. I remember he called me. He was like, they said you just walked out. And I was like, yeah, I can't take it no more. I hate it over there. And I was like, and I just told him, I was like, yeah, I'm probably going to take a minute to get a job. We started getting serious at that point. I was like, I understand if like you don't want to be together. Like, this is a reckless decision. And I'm always upfront with people, like, because I'm like, if you lose your job and you don't got no, I don't know what you think I'm going to do with it. So I'm just honest. I don't care. Whatever. And he was like, no. He's like, I love you, and I'll talk to you later when I get off work. And I said, okay. He's still working, and, you know, we would see each other. We would be talking, and I was trying to figure out how I was going to make ends meet. So I had some grant money coming in for school. I also, clearly, you know, I made money from YouTube. I made money from, like, sponsorships and stuff like that, hair reviews and things. So, I mean, it wasn't just the worst. And also, I would pay a lot of my bills in advance with the money I was making from there, because I was actually working a couple jobs. I was working at a car wash. I was working as a server, and I also worked at like a retail store. So, but then it got down to me just working like the retail store and Chili's. Then it just got down to me working Chili's, because Chili's and the retail store, they were both in the same parking lot, so it wasn't a big deal for me to get back and forth to work. Let me adjust this thing. Okay, so this is where the relationship started, you know, really going somewhere. There was mess with Kenny, and just when you think all of it's kind of like over, it wasn't. Kenny made a big deal because, okay, me and him, we had hung out one time. Like I said, it just wasn't nothing. And then one day, he had came over to my house, and we were just like watching movies, and he fell asleep on my couch. We were just cool with each other. So when he found out I was hanging out with Ryan, he couldn't understand why I would ever like a white dude. Like, what? He was like, what does this white dude got on me? Nothing. And he's all like, everything. But Ryan was just really immature. He wasn't stepping up. Like, one of his friends, he was just like talking shit and starting rumors. One of the cooks. And Ryan wouldn't really like step up to him. He would just be like, whatever. But really, the guy was being a messy, fake asshole, and I had to call him out on it. I had to curse his ass out one day at work. But yeah, and like, he's supposed to be Ryan's friend, I guess, and he just wasn't really doing nothing. So I had just told him, I was like, you know what, like, I'm good off of this relationship. He was like, no, I really want to be with you, let me fix this. And so I just stopped caring. I had basically been out of work for like a week. all that stuff was like weeks behind us. That stuff that happened, I'll talk about that in the actual video. And you know, we're liking each other, we're hanging out, we're going on dates, and I hadn't felt like this in just like a really long time, where it was just like mutual feelings, you know, just having somebody to talk to, like somebody to care for, have fun with, somebody I could just call up. Like, it was just so different. And we, you know, we would just be laughing together, just hanging out and things. Like, I always know when somebody is not my forever dude, but that doesn't stop me, or my forever person, that doesn't stop me from being with them. I just know that I'm not going to get too invested in you. It's not a big deal. So with him, I wasn't really sure. You know, at first I was thinking like, wow, I really like him. Like, I could see something with this guy. But then, slowly but surely, things started showing up. Okay. So, he ended up moving in. And this is how this happened. So, he would be at my house every day, just like how most move-ins happen. But he was over there every day, and it was nice company, but I'm also the type of person, I need my space badly. I talk about this all the time, I need my space. And so, he would come over for a few hours. It started becoming every day. One day, we were talking, because I was like, man, I really need to find a job. And he's like, I'm here all the time. He says, like, why don't I just move in and help you out with everything? And I was like, no. He's like, yeah, I'm fine. Like, he's like, I've been wanting to get out of my grandma's house. And I said, yeah, and then, you know, you always have her place and stuff like that. And I said, and I do have a car. Like, we could ride to work together. We, you know, work together, and we see each other every single day. We spent all of our time together. And we worked well together, too. It wasn't hard at all. So, we just started living together. He didn't bring all his stuff over. He brought over, like, a backpack and his PS4. It was chill. You know, he was picking up after himself. He was going to work every day. We would spend nights together. And then on the weekends, or, like, if we had, like, 2 days off, we would, or a holiday, we would, like, go out and stuff. So, this was going good. Like, everything was chill. Then, his little boy tendencies started to come out. Now, he's 2 years younger than me. I was 26 when we started dating. He was 23 or 24, I believe. I forgot, whatever. I'm not even, like, all that into young guys. I like guys my age, or just, like, a few years older. But younger guys typically are attracted to me, so whatever. And, man, when we started talking, but the younger guys are the ones who are never, like, scared to approach me. So I guess that's why I always end up with them, because older guys feel like somebody needs to come on to them. I don't know. Like, for instance, I wanted him to get a license, and I wanted him to work on building his credit and possibly, you know, getting a car. He was riding his bike, and it seemed like the entire time he was just waiting on his great-grandmother to die. So I told you guys that he lived with his great-grandmother. Like, she's had him his entire life. His parents were on drugs. His dad left. But his grandmother gave him a stable home to live at his entire life. Like, that's all he's ever known. And his mother only lived, like, maybe 40 minutes away. I ended up meeting her. Was not impressed. He was living with her. 'Cause basically, the grandmother's husband worked in refineries. And he had left her, like, money when he died. They were not together. I mean, they were married, but they were sleeping in, like, separate rooms forever. Because they just couldn't get along. But, you know, he had his retirement pension. He had life insurance, all that. So he left her very well, and she never worked a day in her life anyway. She was taking care of Ryan, her great niece, his cousin, and her son, who was disabled because of drugs. So when she sells the house, he is going to split it with one of her daughters, and then he's going to get her car. She also had, like, a little savings account that was building interest. It was like $3 or $4 grand, I remember. So he had all that going on, and basically he was just living with her, waiting for her to die. That's what I drew from it, but he would deny that up and down. But yeah, that's basically what it was. Now, clearly with my personality, I would never wait for something like that. I'm not lazy. I'm not a bum. Come on. In my opinion, like a bummy personality, you could be doing something with your life in the meantime. So I pushed him to try to get a license. I would make the appointment. He would never keep it. We would constantly make the appointment, and I would tell him, okay, well, you need to go back to your grandmother's house. Like, you want to be a baby and stuff. I don't know what ended up happening, but I just gave up, and I was like, well, if you get caught driving in her car without a license, then that's all you. Because there's no reason for you not to get it. And we ended up going up to the DPS office, and I don't remember what happened, but we sat in line for like an hour. He had to go get his original birth certificate. Like, all this stuff ended up happening, and then we still didn't get it that day. I don't remember what happened. And then he even finished taking his written test online. Like, the week we met, I was like, you need to do that. And he went and he did it. So he was showing me initiative to do things, but I don't even, now that I think about it, I don't even know what happened and why he never ended up getting his license. I don't know, guys, whatever. So, yeah, they sent us home twice for like little bitty things to do it. And his grandmother was willing to pay for his driver's school, but he was already in his like 23, 24, so I don't know what the law is. I don't remember. Wow. Okay, so that didn't happen. Strike one. I don't care. You should have been had it. His job. So I'm not sure what happened with that either. After I quit, everybody knew me and him were dating at that point by the time, because I was already there for a few months. We started dating when I started working there, basically. They just cut his hours. That boy was working like 10 hours a week. I remember a 2-week check one time. This was after we moved in. Was like $300 and something for 2 weeks. So he could barely really help with anything. I mean, he could pay for like electricity, Wi-Fi, and food and things. Because when I saw he was making less and less checks, I was like, oh no, you got to start bringing home some more food. That's why everybody's stealing over here. You know, they hired all these new people, all these new cooks, and like the cooks were already desperate for hours, and so people just started quitting anyway. So I was like, you gotta start bringing home food. I was already bringing home food. I never went grocery shopping. I would bring home salads and just, you know, to supplement the income. But yeah, he wasn't even trying to look for a job. On our days off, we would look for jobs. I was already looking. I found something and I started working. I got freaking fired for arguing with this ugly dumb girl. So dumb. But yeah, I got fired from that. I was cocktail waitressing, and I was making a lot of money on good nights. So I was stacking, I was saving up money, and just being smart for once in my life about money and things. And I was like, I'm gonna get him a job here. So I did. I applied online for him and my mom, and they both started working at this place. So my mom starts catching up on things. I'm catching up on things. I'm catching up ahead of things. I remember I paid off this credit card and I closed it because I didn't need it no more. I paid our rent. I would like pay our rent in advance and he would pay me back. And then he finally started working at my job, because at that point, I mean, he put in his 2 weeks and they completely took him off the schedule. I think they gave him 1 day per week and that was it. So we went a minute with me just taking care of things, and that was getting really frustrating. I was like, okay, you know. So his grandma started like helping out, because, and I told him, I was like, look, I was like, do you think you should go back to your grandma? He was like, no, I'm not going back there. And she was okay with it. So she started giving him money like for gas. He needed money the first couple weeks to get to work. But my mom was using my car for her job at the same place as him, so he had to use his grandmother's car. Okay, she gave him the car to use. Then she saw that he was finally being responsible in a relationship, so she relinquished his savings account to him. She finally gave it to him, so he now had access to like $4,000 on an interest building savings account. And then he finally opened up a bank account. He had been using the Chili's debit card thing, ADP credit card thing that they give you, where they charge you to use it, and for every fee or whatever. So dumb. And yeah, so he just like, I didn't even realize, like, I'd be forgetting, I guess because I'm just so on it, I forget how non-on it some people can be. Like, some people still are using burner phones. Some people still like are using prepaid phones. Some people don't have bank accounts. Some people just don't have like driver's license, never had their own apartment. And I'm just like, wow, you know, if you've never had these things, I'm not trying to be rude, but you should be having your shit together, because you're saving money. You don't have a car note, you don't have an apartment. Who you living with? You don't pay no rent, so you should be stacking up money. Okay, I'm saying if you're gonna live that badly, it should be for a reason, not because you're a loser. So she relinquished his money, and everything was going good, but he started getting super lazy at this point. We weren't really, like, we didn't really argue, but let me just tell you guys some key points and things that was frustrating me about him and that I knew, like, this is not gonna work, okay? Let's get into the engagement. I was cocktail waitressing, working graveyard shift. At the time, he wasn't working, like, he was still working at Chili's, but the last few weeks, he was working so little hours. He was always home. And I remember specifically, like, 2 days before, I had yelled at him because he would not work all day, and I would come home and the kitchen was just dirty, filthy, nasty. Like, you know, he didn't put nothing, he didn't load up the dishwasher, he wouldn't wipe off the counters, he would just eat, leave things on the counters, whatever. And I'm like, okay, you know, I can be a little messy too, but you're not working, so you can at least clean up or do something, you know? You're only working once a week. At this point, you can barely pay for gas and food, and this only lasted for a few weeks, because like I said, he basically started working the next week or the few days later that he was done with Chili's, but it took him a couple weeks to get his first paycheck. And I was just like, you know, we had gotten into an argument over that because he wasn't, at the time, he was doing nothing. So I was getting ready for work because I worked graveyard shift. So I'm doing my makeup, I'm on the computer, you know, and I heard something. Like, I heard somebody come through. I heard something. It wasn't like I necessarily heard somebody come through the door, but I thought I heard something. It was like a light something. I didn't think anything of it. I was like, I thought it was one of my neighbors had just like closed the door hard downstairs, but it was light up here. He came into the room, but like, I guess he softly opened the door. He was sneaking in. And I think I don't know if I was either on live or something. I'm just trying to figure out, why didn't I hear him? I think I was watching videos or something. I wasn't expecting him to come home. I don't know, guys. He sneaks up, and all I heard was a thump. He fell. He looks up at me. He hands me a box, and he says, "I've fallen for you, babe." And I was like, oh. I said, what is this? And he says, I open it, and he says, "Will you marry me?" And I was just like, oh, okay, let me just tell y'all why. Number one, I was already, like, it's like, do people just, like, not feel a vibe? You know how you can just tell when somebody's not really feeling you like that, or things are just not good right now? Do people just not get the vibe, or what? Because we were just fighting, and I was just, like, ready to break up with him not too long ago, and he proposes. So I look at the ring, and, if I can find this ring on Walmart, online, I will insert a picture. Okay, so there are a couple things wrong with this. Number one, I know how people say it's not about the ring. Number one, I am not that crazy about getting married. So if you come to me with something, it's got to be something that I like, because I'm not just into just getting married just to be married to somebody. It needs to be what I want, right? He did not care about my taste. He rarely ever even really asked about me. It was always like, it was always about him, like talking about his childhood, his background, what he wants to do. He needs this. You know, the entire relationship really was based off of his needs. And because I'm a Pisces and we're nurturers and we're always just trying to talk to you and get to know you and all that stuff, it's natural for us. I didn't really notice it, but I started to know. I was like, wait a minute, he doesn't ask me about nothing about my life, nothing about my background. And that's just how a lot of men are in general. But I was just like, and one day I just told him, I was like, you're full of yourself, you know, all we talk about is you. And I told him, I said, you're not that interesting, to be honest with you. You know, if I gotta listen to you all day, nothing you talk about boring stuff. Things were just starting to get on my nerves about him. And you have to remember that in a relationship, if there are things that are just really bothering you, it's not gonna get any better later on in a relationship if it's still happening. It's bothering you for a reason, and something's telling you that this is a no for a reason. I opened up the box. It said Walmart or something like that on it. So it had some like white sticker, and got actually, so it was basically a sterling ring, and it had real little diamonds on it, but the diamonds were so tiny. I think I've seen glitter specks bigger than these diamonds, and it was heart shaped. It looked like something that you would give a 12-year-old, like, after they did really good on their recital. And the size of the ring, honestly, was for a 12-year-old. So the ring was, I have to say, it was like a size 4, 3 or 4. because it could barely fit on my pinky. It was that tiny. Guys, I was at a loss for words in a bad way. I looked at it and I was like, is this for me? He's like, yeah. And I think he thought I was like, oh, is this for me? No, he was like, yeah, of course this is for you, silly. And I looked at it and I was like, oh, I could not hide how I felt. Like, I hate that, and I'm just frustrated because I wish I could have hit it better, but, and I'm one of those people, I guess my expression's all over my face, but I could tell when he looked at me that I didn't really like it. I was just like, oh, I said, thank you. I said, yes. I said, I'll marry you. You know, because I'm thinking in my head, like, you know, just because we're engaged doesn't mean we have to get married this week, this month, this year. I tell him, oh, I said, this is the wrong size. You know, and he's like, really? He's like, I thought all girls had the same size ring. And I just said, okay, so you think, and I was not even trying to spoil the moment, but the moment was already spoiled. The ring sucks. It's the wrong size. And he started explaining how, like, he had it on layaway since, like, the first month that we met. He said, I knew I wanted to lock you down as soon as I met you. I don't want to let you go. And so I'm thinking to myself, like, this ain't gonna keep me. Especially not this. I mean, guys, he could have just gotten me, like, just a simple, like a silver band. A simple band or something. Or even if it was a band with, like, the tiniest little delicate diamond would have been fine. The wrong size. I mean, it's like, how much effort did you really put into this? I mean, I feel like he just walked into Walmart, saw a ring, and said, give it to me. I'm like, did the person who was selling you the ring even ask you, like, what size or anything? Or did they just sell it? So, damn it. I'm gonna pull up. I may have to pull up in a minute. Yeah, and I just couldn't hide it. So I told him, you know, after everything, you know, I went to work that day. I remember I had drove to work, and I was really not happy. You think, like, this is supposed to be one of the most exciting times of your life. You know, somebody loves you enough to propose to you and whatever, and you're that far into your relationship. We had only been dating like 3 months, maybe. It was like 3 months. And he's been planning this, and it's been on hold, but that's what he came up with. I remember just driving to work, and I was so disappointed. I didn't want to tell nobody in my family. I was embarrassed. And I was more embarrassed because I was like, I've been living with this person and they don't even know me. They don't even care enough to know what I like my taste or anything. All they care about is locking me down in a relationship and hoping that if we get married, I'm not going nowhere. You don't know me. So the next day, the ring situation was really bothering me because he was like, so how'd you like the ring? And I said, it's not my style. I just had to be honest with him. I just did not care. I said it doesn't fit, and he says, oh, well, I'll go to Walmart and get the right size. I said yeah, but I was trying to be nice, so I said, why don't we go and look for a ring or something? Let's go look. Let's see what the options are. Now, I'll be honest with y'all. I was very new to this whole type of situation. I did not know that rings were super expensive. I mean, it's weird. Like, I knew they were expensive, but I would just see such tiny diamonds that I thought, oh, this is probably like $1,000 or something we can find. And I always hear people saying, oh, just get you $1,000 ring. I hear that so much that I just thought that rings, most engagement rings, were like $1,000. I'll be honest. But then when I started seeing the rings that I wanted, I mean, $3,000, $4,000, $8,000, $12,000, I was like, oh, okay, so this is why a lot of people have small rings, or they have those cocktail rings and they call that an engagement ring. That is, I don't care what nobody says, that is not an engagement ring. If you have one of those square cocktail rings that have, like, you know, I'm not even gonna say that because I feel like a ring is a ring, but that is not, like, whenever I'm just like, that is a gift. That's not like a ring. That is not still the deal. Not for me. If somebody comes to me and they have one of those square gold or silver rings and it has a bunch of little teeny diamond pimp rings, I'm gonna do what I did to him. No, I don't want this thing. I'm not just gonna accept anything because you're just willing to give me anything. Nigga, I want a diamond. My mom, I did not even want to tell her, but after a couple days, I just randomly mentioned it. I was like, hey mom, I think Ryan proposed to me. I'm not sure. She was like, what? And I said, yeah, he bought me a ring. He got on his knee. He asked me to marry him. She's like, that's a proposal. And I said, oh, okay. And I think my mom already knows him. She was like, well, let's see the ring. And I showed her, and she was like, oh. She's like, this is like a promise ring or something for a baby. And I said, yeah. And so she was like, oh, no, he doesn't know any better. You got to tell him what you want. You got to show him, like, there's better things and everything. So I'll insert some clips and just show you guys. But basically, we ended up going to Zell's. Because like I said, I have never been the type of person to, like, ring shop or even, like, wedding shop. I've never cared about any of that. I just want to get my dates right so I can show you guys. I ended up making a Pinterest board so that I can see, like, what do I like? Let me show you. Because I've never even cared for wedding dresses or anything. Maybe it's the millennial in me and stuff. But it's just, I think I've just been so focused on trying to get the relationship right. I don't even think about this type of stuff like, oh, you know, I don't even care. Hold on, I think it's up here. It should be up here. Okay, I just want to show y'all. So I have this secret engagement board. But okay, I thought that it shows you when you made it. But I had no idea what to even, like, look for. I mean, like, I kind of had this idea, but I wasn't sure. Like, I knew I kind of wanted a vintage type of ring, but I don't know. I feel like this is kind of fun to talk about now. Now that it's over, who cares right now, right? Like, this is kind of my style. Something like that is cute. Or something like that. Or even if it was just a plain band with a diamond, that would be actually pretty cool, you know? And even if it was just like a starter one, like, let me show you. Because there were bands that looked just like this, like bands, and they were like when we went there and things, and it didn't even have to have diamonds in it, just the detail in it. Like I said, he didn't even try to even get to know me. He didn't even try to see like what I wanted. He just cared about locking me down. And you guys have to really watch out for that, because I've been in situations like this where a guy has either tried to get me with a baby, get me with the whole marriage crap. It's happened. And before, I used to think, oh, it's just because they're just trying to get in my pants. No, it's a control issue and it's insecurity issue. They're insecure. They feel they're gonna lose you. They know that they don't hold up to you, so they just find, instead of actually working hard and earning you like as a partner, they just are like, let me get the cheap way out and just marry you and then get you in this relationship, not treat you right, and be lazy. And that's it. And hopefully you'll stay because I'll do just enough to keep you in. That was his plan and his goal. I'm not stupid. We go there and he is overwhelmed. He was completely fine with putting a ring on layaway at Walmart for 2 months. But when it came down to possibly building his credit, getting a piece of jewelry for me, and, you know, like financing it or something, he is overwhelmed. He is like, what? Now, granted, he did have the extra income from his grandmother, which I already knew he was just going to end up like smoking, drinking, vaping, eating away at, or giving it to his friends and blah, blah, blah. Or he could have just used that, and if he really cared about me, he could have used $1,000 of it to buy me a ring. And yes, I said it. I know you guys are going to be like, what? Like, but yes, that's what I said, okay? Like, if you feel like somebody is worth spending the rest of your life with, having your children, all these things, then spending money that you were already gonna just trash away is nothing, in my opinion. All right, so we leave Zell's feeling super unaccomplished. A simple one?
This is a 9. Okay, try that on.
And that. Okay, that one's fine.
It's supposed to be like this.
Well, I'm gonna lose weight.
And then you push it over. Well, it'll come off. And
okay. So, like, what's like the least expensive one here? I'm guessing it's this one or this one.
The least expensive one here. Yeah. This one here. This is a clearance piece. It's well, this is 1 whole carat of diamonds. It's for $7,299. It's a green tag. You get 30% off of this one.
Oh wow.
And then this one here is my half a carat, and it's for $3,699.
There's nothing wrong with ring shopping, okay? I don't have to tell them that. Look at that one.
Solitaires and our enhancers.
Okay, what about? For once, I was actually excited. I like, for the first time in my entire life, I thought to myself, like, wow, this is this is real. And I started getting kind of nervous, and I think he was too, because he wasn't ready for what he was trying to offer and do. He just didn't care. After that, a lot of things just kind of started going downhill a few months later. So like I said, license wasn't getting got. He had finally started a job, but he had this newfound independence because he was making a lot more money. At this last job, he was making $8 an hour. So now he was making $12.50. Plus he was guaranteed overtime every single week. So he was working every day, getting out at 3, so he had the rest of the day himself. And he would spend his days playing Fortnite and Call of Duty. He would play that about 6 hours per night, and maybe we would like watch a movie or something, maybe. But we would have date night like every few weeks, but it was less and less frequent. He started drinking a whole lot more because now he's making more money and he's got extra income with his grandma relinquishing that. So he's buying expensive alcohols. He would really be into like different type of like colorful, like cool looking jugs. Always buying alcohol. So at that point, I was like, oh, hold up. So he had to start paying all of the bills. And I made that very clear. I was like, either you pay all the bills or you go back to your grandmother's. Simple as that. I'm not holding you hostage. He started just paying all of the bills. I didn't have to worry about anything. You know, I would probably buy a little bit of groceries or something, but yeah, he was taking care of all of it. I had a roommate, so it wasn't like he was just overwhelmed or anything like that. Our bills were fairly whatever. You know, he paid the car note, all of it. Now, the reason why is because, number one, he was using my car to go to work a lot of times and for us to go everywhere because his grandma needed the car. So, sometimes she would, but she ended up just, you know, he was using the car all the time and stuff. Then, me and his grandmother had issues. Number one, I never did anything to him. All I ever did was try to build him up because that's all relationships are about these days. The woman has to build the man up. The woman is already independent and has her own and she's already thriving. So we gotta go find a man and build him up because men just don't build up women. You know, that's just not what you guys do. That's not what you guys are taught. Always. Damn. I have to help his ass become an adult because you've babied him so much. She was okay with him getting a driver's license, but she didn't like the fact that he was taking care of the house. She would make little comments, and then even in the beginning, she didn't like the way I dressed. She felt like I dressed way too skimpy, and she would just be saying little slick comments and stuff. She didn't like that he would cater to me on certain things, which is why I ended up liking him a lot and loving him. You know, he would get up and he would go do things because I would do the same exact thing for him. If I was at his house, I did not feel comfortable going in his refrigerator and getting things. So he would go in the refrigerator and he would grab like a drink or food or whatever for me and he would bring it back to the room. If he's at my house, he's not lifting a finger. I'm doing everything, right? Especially when I wasn't working anymore. I was working on my social media and other things and he didn't have to do nothing. I was cooking and cleaning and everything and doing whatever he needed me to do. So she would say little slick things and shit. And so one day I remember I was going to go off on her and he ended up really giving it to her because I was pissed. You know, she was not giving me enough credit. He had stopped smoking, which, guys, I did not even know he was a smoker. When I first met him, he didn't smell. He was very clean and he was just vaping. I didn't know that the reason why he was vaping is because he met me at work. He knew he wanted to be with me, so he quit smoking that week that we met. We were never even on shift together, so I had no idea. Okay, the vaping. Guys, whew. Vaping is very annoying. It'll have your entire house smelling like cherry cream or whatever flavor they picked that week. Your entire apartment is smoky. When you're driving down the freeway, you're just puffing smoke out everywhere. And then you gotta keep buying vape liquid. Okay. The vaping really didn't bother me because he has a nicotine addiction, which we had already been too long into our relationship into, you know, it was whatever. And I thought he was making strides because he would try to get lower levels of the nicotine and wean himself off. So I thought, okay, whatever. That was not the case. I mean, it was just vaping all day long. And then I would lean in to kiss him and I would constantly have to keep rubbing my top mustache because his mustache would have condensation in it and water. So basically, vape liquid is like, it's a liquid, right? But you have to have water in a coil to like make it bubble at the bottom. the condensation when you goes up all into your mouth and it leaves. And so every time we would kiss, I would make sure, hey, did you wipe your mouth? Always. And I was like, I really don't like this. And he would always be saying, I'm trying. Okay, there was that. So we got the vaping, the license, the grandmother, not wanting to grow up. Then he would be playing Call of Duty and whatever that game is, Fortnite, all night long, which wasn't a problem really, because, and oh God, guys, all the problems are happening right now. I didn't really pay any attention because I would be on YouTube trying to just stay away from him. I would make him his food, make him his alcohol, and he would start playing his game. Guys, we could not be intimate anymore. Number one, he could not keep it up at all. He would be all out and then no, like full sail, and then wonk wonk, and it would be like, what? I know it's not me. What the hell is happening? Every single time. Like at first we were just kind of like hooking up, you know, kind of like you know, whatever. But then when we moved in and things, I was like, oh, like nothing. Could not, like nothing, just bloop, 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 bloop. And it was horrible. And so honestly, we were together for 8 months. Guys, I think that we had proper maybe 3 times, maybe. And it was really good whenever we would do it. It was so good. And it was just like, well, this sucks, because now we, like, I was actually looking for it. And I don't have to do that in relationships. So I was like, oh my gosh. And you're young, like, why is that you can't, I'm not gonna lie, at first I thought, okay, this is just nerves, you know, sometimes when you get really excited. But no, guys, it was, and we tried many times, many times. So at that point, it was just financial. He didn't want to go back to his grandma's. We both kind of didn't really want to be away from each other. Oh, I was like, okay, I need to come with a game plan, because this isn't gonna work. Like, that is honestly like the last straw for me. And I know that relationships are not all about that, but it just really bothered me. Like, I need it sometimes, at least once a month, twice a month. You know what I'm saying? And I know that, like, once people have kids, a lot of times it just kind of fades off. But, like, we don't even got kids. We're in our honeymoon phase. I need something, okay? I love you, but come on. So, guys, we had just completely stopped doing it. We weren't doing it no more. And I was just getting like frustrated. So then he just started becoming a sloppy drunk. So when we first started getting together, you know, I started noticing little things. He had a little trash bag. He would take out his trash or whatever. But slowly he started he would drink and he would just fall asleep, and then he would just throw the cans on the floor. He would spill things and then he wouldn't say nothing, and then he would just kind of like dab it clean. And it would be sticky, and I'm like, why is there all this sticky stuff on the floor? What is this? Like, it would turn clear later on, but it was nasty. And he would later on tell me, he would be like, oh yeah, I spilled something. And I'm like, well, why didn't you clean it? So I was starting to turn into his mother. We were getting into arguments all the time about his cleanliness. And I remember just thinking to myself, like, okay, I'm gonna just save up a little bit more. I got me a different job after the waitressing job, and I was like, and I'm gonna get out of this because I hate it. Now I'm starting to become really unhappy, and I don't want to prove his grandmother right, because she would just be so happy to know that we're not together no more, you know. Oh yeah, I told you that wasn't gonna work, you know, and stuff for a 90-year-old butt. So every day I would go in and I would clean up all the trash and things like that all the time. Then his friends, my God, okay. He started to want to hang out with his friends, which was no problem for me. I loved it when he wasn't home, because I didn't have my baby at the house, okay? My baby that I didn't have, really. He started hanging out with his friend Dustin. His friend Dustin, the reason why he is even at his grandmother's house right now is because of his friend Dustin, okay? Basically, he had saved up like $1,200, and him and his friend Dustin were gonna put a down payment on a trailer to rent together. And then it was like a 3-room trailer. I know this is so white trash, but whatever. And they were gonna live together. Dustin had saved up his money. He showed him. He didn't have enough, and then he had his portion of the rent. So while he was at work, Dustin was gonna go out and go get the trailer and go give them the money and everything. The day comes, and his ass is nowhere to be found. Ryan gave him the deposit money and everything. Dustin texts him and he's like, hey dude, you know, we got the apartment, everything's good, you know, they applied. And he is nowhere to be heard from for an entire year. And I know this because he admitted this. Dustin did. He's back hanging out with Dustin, the dude who stole from him. And this is not the first time he's stolen from him. It was just the first time he had stolen that amount of money. So I'm already like, oh, no. You're like a really bad judge of character, you know? And I didn't know that was the same guy. Like, he had just been telling me, because I wasn't really paying attention, y'all. And he already had like 2 or 3 friends that were named Dustin. So I wasn't really paying attention. But one night, Dustin was homeless. It was cold. It was the wintertime, if you guys remember, like when we were in our relationship. And him and his 2 friends needed to stay somewhere because they got kicked out. And so they slept in our living room. And that night, I remember after they left, I said, is that the same dude who stole from you? And he was like, yes. And I was like, you know, we had a conversation about that. But yeah, like, I just, oh my gosh. So the video games, the friends stealing from him, constantly taking advantage of him because he was nice, because he is nice. When he would play like Call of Duty and Fortnite, he would be on live, and you guys know how white people, non-black people, they get this courage to be racist, and they love saying the N-word. He would be playing this game, and I'll be on the computer, and all I hear is, yeah, nigga, then all the time, and like, it was getting annoying. I'm like, okay, look, like, you either need to get the fuck off here, get some headphones, or you need to correct them and get them out of your game. He'll be like, but it's a 4-person game. I can't end the game. And if I do, I'll lose my points and my ranking. Oh, and I was like, I don't give a fuck. I unplugged it one day, and I was like, get the fuck out. We got into an argument, and he was like, racism is over. And I was like, oh my gosh. And it hit me. Like, girl, I don't even know why I didn't even have the racism talk with him, because I have the racism talk with all of my boyfriends, even the black boys I have to these days, because I had such bad experiences with black guys saying like underhanded comments about black girls. Like when they would date me, they would be like, oh, you know, they would just say little things. So I had to start having like, trying to see like where they are. Now me and him, all of his friends are black. He grew up with black people. And he wasn't one of those white boys that tried to act black, and he would not even say the N-word. Even if he was around a bunch of white people, he doesn't talk like that. He doesn't try to fit in like that. It's either you take him how he is. And I remember we would be watching something, he'd be like, that's not right. You know, he would just, you know, so he never said anything weird. Like, he would never say things about dark-skinned people like other black guys I dated. He wouldn't say things like, oh, black girls are this and that. He would never say things like that. So I'm thinking, okay, we're good, like, you know. But no, you are so ignorant. I gotta go even deeper with you. So I told him, I said, if racism is over, why is it weird that me and you are together? Why do people stare at us? Why do people make comments? Why does Kenny care that you're white? And he was like, I don't know, because he's dumb. And I said, yeah, because racism still exists. Me and him, I remember one day I had to really give it to him. We had like broken up that day, and I explained it to him, and he was like, okay, I get it. Like, I really get it. Because I had to go way back to the fucking 1800s. I had to explain to him about indentured servants, about slavery, and how this and this works. And that was just something that sometimes you just gotta do. You just gotta educate people, you know? White people, some of them think it's okay to touch your hair. Some black people do. Because I've had other black girls say, can I touch your hair? Like, especially when I was in high school, because I would wear weave. I was one of the only black girls that was wearing weave. Okay, so that conversation happened, and it was cool. Like, we did not have that issue anymore. Like I said, I've dated other people where that issue kept coming up because they didn't want to change, and that's just was their state of mind, but they were just trying to temporarily act like they weren't really like that so that we could continue dating. So that happened, and then there were just some other issues, guys. Like, and you know what? I'm not even going to talk about the rest of them, but I am going to say this particular thing that happened. Number one, the engagement, him changing out the ring, anything, never came up again. He got sloppy and comfortable, and I allowed it. But it was okay because I knew I didn't want to be with him. But I remember there was this one day he had came back from work. So he started getting so lazy to the point where, like, he was like, I don't feel like taking a shower after work. Okay, but you can't be funky. He would usually come home, as soon as he got in the house, we would hug, and he would go and he would take a shower. He stopped doing that, guys. This boy, One day he came home, took off his clothes, immediately got on PS4. And he got up to go grab something. He sat his butt naked, floppy. He had been gone for 12, 14 hours, working in a sweaty kitchen, flopped his saggy white butt on the bed. And he got up to go grab something, and I looked, and I was like, I got a little bit close, because I'm like, there's no way that his butt don't stink. And it was smelly. I didn't even have to get super close. He came back out, and I said, come here, come smell this. And I was like, does that smell good to you? He said, no. And I said, why the fuck would you sit your floppy ass? I said that on the bed. I said, no, not floppy. I said your nasty ass on the bed like that. And your butt stinks. I said, go take a shower. And I said, don't you ever sit on this bed and not take a shower if you're not going to put some pants on. And honestly, I was sick of seeing him naked. I wasn't even attracted to him no more. I didn't want to see him like naked no more. I couldn't take it. Because everything that is not supposed to be happening when you're engaged, when you're in love, was happening to us. So you guys also noticed this. I started getting lazy. In that relationship, I had gained like 25 pounds. We were eating out every day. I wasn't exercising. I wasn't actively working. I wasn't really getting out the house. I was just like online. I just wasn't really doing anything. The day would just pass me by, and I was allowing it. And I was just getting, my face was super round. I was big. I was really, 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 really big. I had went in and I had got a job at this truck stop diner because I just wanted to be out of this relationship so bad. This girl had told me, she was like, yeah, I make pretty good money here. And I was like, okay. So I went and I applied. And then they put a flyer on our mailbox at my apartments. Went in there and I had orientation that week. So I went to orientation. I came home that day. And I remember he came home and he was just being a freaking sloppy drunk. He had just got a new bottle of like this green, I don't know if it was like Hypnotic. It was some type of green bottle and it looked really cool. And he had finished it. He had bottles and bottles and bottles of alcohol on the refrigerator. I didn't know that he used to do drugs, so he could no longer do those things. He knew that secretly to be with me, so he had replaced it with alcohol and vaping and, you know, just eating, getting sloppy. He gets home, he's sloppy drunk, whatever. And he was on the phone with his cousin and he was being super loud. He was gonna wake my roommate. And I was just like, shh, be quiet. And he kept saying, sorry, my girlfriend wants me to be quiet. Shh, I have to be quiet. Why do drunk people always say, shh? Like, shut up. Shut up. Shh. And so he was like, I'm gonna miss you, man. You're going off to the army. And I just gotta tell you, I got this really good job making so much more money than I ever made in my life. And then he tried to whisper, I'm making like $1,400 a month. Like, that was a whole lot for him, especially coming from making like $800. And of course he wasn't gonna say that his girlfriend had to go and apply and under him. I heard this loud like kablunk in the kitchen and I was like, what is that noise? And I was like, whatever. I just didn't want to deal with him. I figured that he was falling. I kept hearing kablunk, kablunk, kablunk. I go in there to make sure he's okay, that he didn't hit his head on something. He is standing there talking and I walk and I feel something under my feet and I was like, what is that? What is that? And I look, he has 8. Okay, so we're back at the apartment. While I was recording, the camera died and then I had to pee real bad. Also, I wasn't really filming it here because everything's in trash bags, boxes, my couch is gone. Like, I sold my couch, the white couch isn't there. The bookcase that was there is all dismantled. You know, the apartment is literally in shambles, so I haven't really been recording here. Obviously I could have moved everything and I just wasn't even thinking, but I do like sitting and it's a really nice day and I didn't want to be outside. So anyway, back to where I left off at. Okay, so I go in the kitchen. Like I said, I see all these dripping wet napkins in bunches on the floor, this board. And he's on the phone and he's crying. And that's why I went in there, because he was just being so loud. And I was like, shut up. Like, it's embarrassing, you know, the drunk cry. And he's just like, I don't want you to go off to the military. I love you. You're my favorite cousin. Only heard him ever mention this dude one time. He hasn't talked to him in months. A lot of his family members don't even really care to talk to him like that. And he's just crying in the kitchen while he's drinking, and it was embarrassing. I wanted him to get out of here. So I go in the kitchen and I'm saying, you're being too loud, be quiet. He's saying, I don't want to be quiet, I'm on the phone with my cousin, I miss him. And I'm like, okay, well, miss him quietly. And guys, we have a little back and forth, and finally I walk in the kitchen because I didn't want to put on my house shoes. I didn't want to put on clothes, really. And I have a roommate, so whenever I go into this common living area, I gotta put on like some pants and a shirt just in case he comes out. I go out there and I felt something sticky, like a ploop ploop noise under my shoes, and I'm like, what's going on here? What is? And I look under. It is sticky ass wet puddles of soda, Mountain Dew, all over the kitchen floor. Like, and then I look, and that's when I saw the dripping paper towels in just a trifling ass bunch on the floor. And I was like, I didn't really care. I said, what the hell is this? Clean your shit up. I said, listen, get off the phone. Get off the phone right now and clean your shit up. At that point, I didn't really know how drunk he was. He could barely walk. Like, he started walking and he kept saying that he wasn't drunk. And I'm like, I don't care what you are. Clean this up. Look, clean yourself off. Go take a shower. Get off the phone right now. At first, he was trying to fight with me. And finally, he said, okay, cousin, I gotta go. I gotta go. You be safe in the army. I miss you and I love you, bro. And I was just like, if you don't take your... He gets off the phone. And I basically have to, like, he has one hand on my shoulder, and I walk him into the bathroom. And I knew he was really drunk, so I didn't really want to give him a shower, but his pants were soaked, like the bottom, and I didn't want him to get in the bed like that. So I had him take off his clothes, and I just kind of like gave him like a whole bath, like a rinse off in the shower, like he was cattle. Like, that was the best I could do. We finally go to bed. He just falls out on top of the covers, and I got under the covers. Now, my mom is always right. She did say, she was like, he has a drinking problem, and I just couldn't fathom that happening. Maybe, I guess I was in denial, or I didn't really know what exactly to look for, but she had already told me this way before. And I was just like, no way. No, he doesn't. I said, he just likes to have a drink sometimes at night. But progressively, you know, he was becoming a drunk. And my mom was right, because he really needed to drink every single day. Every single day he needed to drink just to function. Now, I didn't know that it was a coping mechanism that he needed to drink every day. I just thought, okay, you know, he's worked hard, he takes care of everything, he just wants a little drink and to play his video games, and we're not having sex or anything, so whatever. I didn't know that he was going to bed drunk every night. He was doing it so well, but I guess this night he wasn't really holding it together, and I feel bad, honestly. Like, wow. The next morning, I usually wake up around 5:30, 6 o'clock on my own every day. And I woke up actually kind of late. It was like 6:05, and I just woke up on my own naturally. And I looked over, and he was still there. He works 28 minutes away. He has to be at work for 6:30, and you have to get there like 10 minutes before to make the clock in. If it's 6:05, I look over and he's still sleeping, dead asleep. I had gotten up, peed, and I didn't even really notice that he was home because I was so tired from dealing with him from the night before. I guess I wasn't really paying him any attention. I wasn't really thinking about it. But then I tapped him and I said, are you off today? He says in a rude way, no. He turns back over. And I'm thinking to myself, for some reason, okay, I guess he quit his job. And I was just like, no. I said, okay, you do realize it's 6:10 right now. He said, what? He jumped out of bed and ran, threw on his clothes, kind of brushed his teeth a little bit, and ran out the door, headed to work. That day, me and my mom, we were just chilling out, whatever. I came home and, you know, I got dinner ready or whatever. He calls me like he usually does. He would do the same thing every single day. He would call me on his lunch break, call me on his way to work. He would call me on his little 10-minute break. And then he would call me as soon as he left work when he was on the way. And then he would call me again when he was like 10 minutes away. I could have really been cheating. He wouldn't even, I'm just kidding, I'm so bad. He would always do that. So he had called me, let me know he was getting close. So I did my usual stuff. Okay, He gets it to the house. And it's pretty normal. Like, I was just like, wow, you were really wasted last night. He was like, yeah, you know. And I saw him drinking. I made a little joke like, okay, I guess you're gonna take it easy tonight, right? You know? And he showed me a meme, because one of the things that I'm learning now in a relationship, I really want us to have similar tastes. I don't want us to just be like total opposites. It would be nice if I met somebody who had similar music tastes as me, because I enjoyed it. Because it's been so long, I guess mine is really particular, I don't know. But the last time I did, it was great. Me and him did not have the same taste at all. Number one, he has never heard of any mainstream artists. If you ask him, like, do you know who Future is? Do you know who, I mean, he may know who Beyonce is. Like, he doesn't even know who Jay-Z is, most likely. He didn't know any type of, like, mainstream artist. And he didn't really listen to hip-hop. He only listened to underground hip-hop, like Mexican, like Los Angeles, like a street person who's like handing out DVDs on the street. That is the type of only independent artist that nobody has heard of, like, that he would listen to. And he would always listen to it, and I would hate it because it just did not sound good. I hated all of it. Not like it has to be mainstream, but I did not like it. It was always like this fake rap, like this horrible rap, like, yeah, that's my girl, she's in my world. Just bullshit all the time. And I'll be like, oh my gosh, I don't want to hear this crap. I don't want to hear this. And I'm saying all this for a reason. Like, I remember he asked me, hey, have you heard of this song called Day and Night? Have you ever heard of Kid Cudi? Do you know who Bruno Mars is? There's this new song. And I'm like, that song is like 8 years old. I was in high school. What? And whenever he would first learn about a song that everybody's heard of, he would play it all the time. And then he would show me old memes. And you guys know how it is. When you've already seen a meme that was literally like a week ago, even yesterday or 2 months ago, you're just like, oh, it's not as funny because you've already seen it. And it's like, really? You don't know what that is? He was constantly tapping my shoulder and saying, look at this meme that he found on a freaking Reddit thread from 2 years ago. Oh my goodness. I cannot believe that the way that the buttons that he pushed, I didn't even know that these were things that a person can get frustrated with, but it would frustrate me because he would do it so much. I finally had to tell him, hey, look, like, don't show me any more memes. I told him that, guys. I was like, and he would still, and I said, listen, only show me like 1 or 2 memes a day, please. He would text message me memes. He would email them no matter what time in the morning. He would lean over and say, hey, baby, wake up. Okay, have you seen this meme? Yes, 2 years ago. Yes, last week. Oh my gosh, all the time. Okay, so he had leaned over to me and he tapped me on the shoulder and he says, baby, look at this meme. And he only had 1 more meme left because he was only allotted 2 memes per day. So I was like, oh, let me go look at this shit. I mean, I turned this way and I look and at the meme, which wasn't funny, by the way, and I look and a text message drops down and it said, when are you leaving your girlfriend? Now, when I saw that, I was not shocked. I was more annoyed, and I was also like, okay, how am I gonna go about this? Because I need a way out, and this may just be it. I really did not even care. It didn't make me mad, nothing like that. No, I don't care. So I had to think about it for a second, and I laughed and I said, after a second, I said, when are you gonna leave your girlfriend? And he was like, what? And I said, the text message? Who the fuck is that? Is that who I think that is? Now, this is not overreacting if it was in a normal, loving relationship. This would not be overreacting. But this was overreacting for me because I hadn't given him nothing in 4 months. We barely stopped kissing. We were literally roommates. We were just sleeping in the same bed. We were like, ugh. But I overreacted because I was done. I was done with this. I didn't even give him time to respond. He took too long, and I said, get out. Get your shit and get the out. Get out. I started yelling at him. He was playing a video game, and he's like, guys, and I said, I don't care. I unplugged his PS4. He was like, no, I was in the middle of my game. And I unplugged this crap, and I was just like, la 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 la. And yeah, he just left. Like, he had already started packing his crap. Like, as soon as I said, he didn't even try to explain nothing, really nothing. I know that I'm saying like I didn't really give him time to explain. I don't even think that he was even gonna try to explain, because he had already checked out the relationship just like me. I already knew who this chick was, and I was not mad, not offended, not like anything, nothing, okay? This chick's name is Suicide. That's her nickname. I nicknamed her that because I don't know if you guys remember on Family Guy, there was this episode where the guys went to go see this chick flick, and one of the girls' names was Suicide. She was always threatening to kill herself. So this girl in particular, I would see text messages from her. She would write this boy on a weekly basis, professing her love for him and how she wants to be back together with him. He had broken up with her like a year or two ago. She had left him for some dude. But even when she was with the other dude in a relationship, she would always write Ryan and say like, I can't do this anymore, I want to end it. And then before they stopped talking, she would, every time he would say I'm leaving you, she would always threaten to end it. So my dumb ass nicknamed her Suicide, because I'm like, look girl, first of all, you are too into yourself. She's not attractive, but when I saw her Facebook, I was like, okay, I see what type of chick she is. And it's not really funny. But y'all, it's the truth. So that basically was it. Okay, so our relationship was over. He called his grandma. She does not even drive once it starts getting dark. She got her 90-year-old butt in her car and hightailed it down to my place. I mean, she got here so quick, and he literally had nothing here. She lives like 10 minutes away. I promise y'all, she got, I bet you she ran every stoplight. She got here in like 6 minutes. He was still bringing his stuff downstairs when she pulled up. She even walked up the stairs because she never went to my apartment to see where he lived because she doesn't go upstairs. She walked up the stairs. So she knew it was serious for him to get his ass out. And this was not the first time we had broken up and I had kicked him out, and then we worked it out. He came back. Like, he would never actually move back. Like, I remember one time he moved back for like 2 days or something because I just couldn't deal with him, and he was miserable. And I know you guys are wondering, wow, he didn't even try. No, guys, listen, this guy has no self-esteem. He is a 100% loser. He was a loser, okay? He was a super loser. I already knew that, and I didn't care. I didn't care because I had nothing else going on and I wasn't meeting anybody. Believe me, if somebody would have come along that was better, I was not gonna say, oh, I have a boyfriend. No, I was actively looking because I wanted to be out in a relationship, but he was taking care of everything, and it was basically a roommate situation because he didn't want to go back home and feel like an even bigger loser than he already was. But at that point, he couldn't even deny the loserism, I promise you. Okay, so let's talk about the aftermath of our breakup, okay? So I remember that night, you know, he left, got all his stuff. He left so much crap, okay? But he did. I remember him saying that he still wanted to help out with bills since he was leaving at the beginning of the month. Now, this was fine for me because we had already taken care of rent, and he had just gotten paid, and so I was good. He couldn't have picked a better time to leave, whatever. So all that was taken care of. Whew, I was like, okay, great. But he had still agreed that he was gonna do something or whatever. So he had left a bunch of crap, and I shouldn't even have done this. I don't even know why I did this. I feel like I just wanted to get one last inch, which is just so wrong, but whatever. It's the truth, we're being honest here. And he had left like bags of things, and I was like, did you do this on purpose? So anyway, I texted him not wanting to be back, but I just said, hey, you left a bunch of stuff here. And I said, you can come get it, or I can just drop it off when you're at work or something like that. It's not a big deal. And he said, no. He said, I'm gonna come by and come get it. So one night after work, he ends up coming over. And I think this boy thought he was gonna get some, which is crazy to me because he couldn't even give any when we were together. So I was like, what? We talked a little bit about it, and I just told him, I said, it's fine if not. He was like, no, I'm gonna do it. So when the bill came up, I hit him up about it, which I shouldn't have even done, guys. I know, so dumb, because everything ended up working out. I think I freaked out after I had talked to my friend, and I told him, I was like, I just started this new job. I don't get paid to this day, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's the holidays, and like this job is super slow. And they were like, girl, you better get on it. You need to go ask. And I was just like, ugh. And that's not even my personality. Like, usually I'll just take care of it. Somehow things always end up working itself out. He never paid it. even though he was the one who offered. And I just took care of it. Like, I started making money at that job within a couple days. And everything was good. Great, amazing things just started coming out of nowhere. Like, out of nowhere. Okay, so the aftermath of the relationship. So when we broke up, it wasn't anything. I showed you guys a video where I was cleaning up all the trash that he had occurred over the weeks. I would always go and I would clean under our bed, but honestly, he would drink like 6 sodas in a day and just throw it on the floor. I had bought him a trash can. I put it next to that side of the bed. I had also bought like a little, like the little book stand. I bought that for him so that he could put his stuff in. That's what it was full of. And he could set his things on there and his cups and his drinks. And I would go at the end of the night and I would go and pick him up. But he was always spilling things and not saying nothing and just dabbing it clean. And then it would just be sticky. So I would go, and so I went under there after the breakup, and I just got completely rid of that bed and everything, and I just returned it. I didn't know I could, but I did somehow. And yeah, now my mattress is on the floor, and that is how I love it. That's how I've always liked it at every apartment. I like my mattress on the floor. Months later, maybe like 3 or 4 months later, I didn't hear from him. I was not surprised that I wasn't at all. And because he never, even when we would break up, I would always have to be the one to reach out to make sure he was okay and things. He would never reach out after we would even end anyway, so I knew he didn't really care about me. He just liked the idea of us. But his friend had wrote me, so I already knew that Kenny was so happy that they were not together. I already knew that we were not together. The first person who wrote me was Kenny, then his friend. But it was weird because they both wrote me at the same time. And so his friend wrote me on Facebook. He had requested me. I denied it. Then he requested me again. I denied it. Third time he had wrote me a message and requested me. So I was like, okay, whatever, fine. He messaged me and he was like, hey, you still do dreadlocks? And they always started off with that. And he was like, oh, okay. So I was like, no. He tried to get with me. Then when I turned his ass down, he was like, hey, so why you do Ryan like that? Man, he is really depressed ever since you left him. And I said, yeah, I tried to reach out to him. And he's like, yeah, for money. And I said, why is that any of your fucking business? I said, if you live with somebody, that's what happens. And I said, you are so used to sleeping with fat white women and taking care of their kids in exchange for a place to stay that you don't know what it's like to actually get with somebody and contribute to a relationship more than being a babysitter and some dick. And he was just like, man, whatever. He got mad. Okay, then with Kenny, my God. Kenny had wrote me and he had always been trying to get with me. It wasn't gonna happen even if I broke up with Ryan. It doesn't matter. It's never gonna happen. You guys know how it is. It doesn't matter like if you get friend zoned. Friend zoned is stupid. There's nothing wrong with just not being interested in somebody. Nothing wrong with that. He swooped in, tried to. He smokes weed and he probably does other type of drugs. So there's like a drug house. And I know this is really trashy, but this is the truth. He had saw Ryan at the drug house. You know, he was just going there to go pick something up. And he was like, yo, I saw Ryan. That dude looks real bad. He said that he had stopped to talk to him and he had asked about me, and Ryan just started spilling out all his guts, talking about I hit him, and I did slap him. I forgot to tell you that I did. I slapped the hell out of that boy for texting that girl, and I know he had been texting her most likely. I know that he was entertaining this clown just a little bit, and he probably went back to her, and now she already done left him. I already knew that. But yeah, he was like, yeah, he said it. He was like, yo, like she was taking all my money, and I was just like, whatever. And then he said, couldn't have been me. He's like, I would have helped you out. I would have paid everything to be with you. He said he doesn't know a queen when he sees one. And it's always dudes like that feel like, you know, but honestly, y'all, like, he is hanging out at a dope house talking about how he would treat me like a queen. Do you guys not see the correlation? This is not gonna work ever with us. No, I'm trying to run away from that. He just told Ryan that, like, that's what happens. Like, when you get into a relationship with somebody, you gotta contribute and whatever. So he went on. He never liked him anyway. He really hated that he was white. And Ryan knew that, but that's what he does. Like, when it comes down to his friends, it doesn't matter if you steal from him, lie to him, hurt somebody that he loves, he will still be friends with you because he has low self-esteem and he grew up being really fat. Then he lost a lot of weight and he was bullied a lot. So he gravitates towards people who are just using him as long as he can have people in his life. So guys, that was my story. That was all I can really remember. I have never talked to him again. I still get a lot of his mail. I reached out to him. I just sent him a text message and told him, you need to change your you need to change your work address to your home address because I'm still getting your mail. He texted me and said, who is this? And honestly, I'm not surprised if he doesn't have my number because he never had real phones. He had Walmart phones that he would have to buy and put a prepaid card on, so I'm not surprised at all. And pay his bill. He would have to buy a card to pay his bill, so whatever. I'm not surprised whatsoever. But yeah, y'all, that was my story. That was how my engagement ended. What do you guys think? Do you guys even consider that even a real engagement? I don't. I don't care, even if there was a ring involved. I don't tell people I was ever engaged, really. Like, unless I'm in a serious relationship, because it's embarrassing. And nobody actually even knows this about me. Like, and this is not even the first time something similar to this has even happened to me. But whatever, but this is the closest and stuff like that. But anyway, I love you guys so much. And let me know your thoughts down below. Bye, guys.